Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you live today on Kick Unhealthy Relationships to the Curb. You might notice that my wonderful co-host, Steve, is not going to be on today. It's going to be a little bit of some ladies' night going on. I am going to be introducing my good friend, Barbara McLean, who's going to be sharing her story of overcoming sexual assault. And just really got to dig in. So if you are ready to get some really great information, then definitely stay for the entire time. We're actually doing something very different today. Normally we're a full hour show. Today we're gonna test out 30 minutes and see what it's like. So if you'd like to lean in, if you'd like to take notes, if you know anybody who suffered from sexual assault, this is definitely going to be the show to watch. So let's watch a quick video clip on her, and then we'll have Barbara come out.
This would go on for hours, and when I would cry, or when I would scream, or when I would struggle, he'd like hit me over and over and over again to break me. After being married to someone who was abusive for 15 years, I walked away with nothing. I decided I was going to heal myself. I would become a champion. I would take all this hurt, all this pain, and turn it into something uniquely positive. Or when someone calls you and takes you back to that place, like I feel like my heart could just come out of my chest sometimes. When you let go of shame, you're free.
And let's welcome Barbara McLean. What's up? Barbara and I have known each other now for a few years, and I got goosebumps, and I know your story, and I still get goosebumps. Crazy. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. So
my
tell us a little
pleasure.
bit about, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's my pleasure. It's always a joy to catch up with you.
I know. It's like we get to do this actually in real life, and other people get to hang out with us as we catch up.
Which is great.
Yep. Awesome. So for the people that have never heard of you before, that just saw that little video clip, do you mind sharing a little bit maybe more in depth about your story, like where you came from? And I mean, you've overcome so much. And on this show in particular, we love being able to share someone's origin story, like how things started out for them and then where they are now, because I really find that inspires other people to realize like, hey, no matter what I'm dealing with, no matter what's going on, change is possible. And your story, I think, if people are listening, is really going to resonate for others.
I had the most average upbringing, to parents who were married like their entire adult lives. I have several sisters, and I have a wonderful family. And I just kind of got into a situation that I wasn't prepared for. And full disclosure, a family member had been inappropriate with me early in my childhood. But I don't see that as having much of a meaningful long-term effect. However, my first relationship, it was a sexually abusive, honestly, almost to the point of trafficking. There were multiple perpetrators, and it was extremely violent. And one day, I physically fought back in a semi-public place. And that changed the moment. That meant that particular point in my life was over. But I didn't really recover. I went on to be married twice. Both marriages were extremely unhealthy. And my second marriage, which lasted for 15 years, was really physically abusive. And the worst part, it's like sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. It's quite the opposite. It's really the opposite. And it's especially bad that your children get to see you as a valueless person.
Mm.
And that's where like generational trauma occurs. Because now you have little people that are raised in this situation where no one treats each other with respect. Love is respect is love is respect. And that's the cycle that you want. You don't want the cycle of abuse to be the dynamic in your home. So after I got divorced, I figured, what did I really want? I wanted to go back to school. That was a constant source of contention. And I did it. 8 solid years. I went to school 3 nights a week. And I went from essentially having like uh, nine community college credits to having a master's degree in social policy from SUNY. And I was like, now what do I do? And I was like, now I heal. And I heal by healing. And I thought at this point in my life, I would be like the president of a DV organization. And that
Mhm.
didn't happen. And at first, I thought it wasn't fair. But I found out that I don't have to directly have both feet in the trenches in order to like be a champion of human services. And I started working with people with developmental disabilities. And I love them. Like I really love them. They want nothing. They're so pure. And it gives me this sense of purpose every day. Like I hate to miss work. And so I thought, okay, what else can I do? And I
Mm.
started working on the local hotline, county hotline, national hotline. And then I trained to go into the emergency room and be an advocate and sit and hold the hands of survivors while they're talking to the police and getting their rape kit done. And that is so like that from a place of understanding is a gift, not to them, to me. It's a gift to myself that I can gather my own strength and use it to protect them in that moment. And you know how lucky am I that I survived to such a degree that I have extra to give to others.
There's so many things. I was trying to take notes as you were talking because I was like, all right, I got to ask about this. I got to ask about this. So many things that I love. I think one of the things that's really so inspiring that of what you do and something that I really try to do as well in my work is being able to hear other people's stories and come from a place of like, I get you. Like I didn't live what you lived, but I can empathize because I remember my experience through your experience and I can see it in a way that other people that haven't experienced haven't had that. And I can tell you that people that you talk to hear that from you. Even if you don't tell them anything that you experienced, they can hear the empathy that you are just giving out by showing up authentically and letting and just being there for them in holding that space while they're going through that.
I I show up with love. I don't know you, but I will give you all the love in my heart. when I show up. And not just in my advocacy work, even in my professional work. Like I will give you all the love I can muster in that moment because that's really what I I think that's what I have to give. And then there's the fun stuff that came out of being an educated woman. There's like the byproducts of actually having knowledge and wisdom that I'm on the board. That's my picture of being a board member of Blended City Creative Company, Inc. Look them up. They are an amazing theater company in New York that works to teach performing arts and creative arts to underserved communities. And I'm so proud of that. And that basically um, just came about as a byproduct of who I became. And then I have Pink Flags, which is my podcast with my two wonderful co hosts, Sean Headley Williams and Harold Wise, where we talk about healthy relationships and how there is no template. The healthiest relationship is the relationship that's meant for you. And we look at it sometimes in a funny way because we're three very different people in very different places in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to be able to see how other people process what relationships work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like Wise is a very conservative man. He has traditional values and he thinks of relationships in a very linear, um, traditional, conservative way. There's no other adjectives I can use. It's just
Mm-hmm.
super traditional. And he's the father of young women. He's had a career in law enforcement. He's just like a really strong male presence. And he has ideas that often align with mine, but often we clash because I believe that there is there should be no traditional conservative point of view when it comes to a woman's sexuality. That's her business, definitely not yours. You don't need to attach a number to who a woman is. Like, a woman cannot be defined by who her sexual partner is or how many sexual partners she's had. And
And
okay.
can I just jump in for a second? Because I love that actually your podcast does that and has different perspectives. Because I think that one of the things people hear when they think of a healthy relationship is they think that it has to be like everything is perfect. And, you know, my husband and I talk all the time about how, like, hey, we're not perfect. We're two imperfect people because we're human. Human beings are not perfect. So if we're looking for Mr. or Miss Perfect, like, we're not going to find it because that's unrealistic. But when you find two people that come together and it's synergy and they bring out the best in each other and they're able to communicate, we might not always understand, like, well, it's working for them. Like, it's not my thing, but guess what? It doesn't have to be your thing. It's got to be what works for those people, for that couple.
Oh yeah, and we've had some really interesting guests, and guests coming up include a dominatrix in a couple of weeks. Because if love to you means stretching sexual boundaries, then you need to find a partner that is like, yeah, could never have vanilla, like a vanilla sexual experience.
Mm-hmm.
But most people really do not want to stray outside of that. And
But most people, I think that like most people are afraid to even share their wants and needs with anybody, whether it's,
Oh, yeah.
in the bedroom, whether it's them personally, like their feelings, their values, things like that. They're not very, I find very often we're not very good at verbalizing what we want because we're afraid we're going to lose someone that we're not going to fit in. But like I always say, you got to let that weirdo flag fly. Like, hey, this is me. And if you like it, like come this way because we'll be cool. But if you don't, then please stay away because I don't have time for that. you know?
Oh, no, absolutely. That's like the biggest, and my other co-host, Sean Headley Williams, she had grown children and she married a younger man who had
Mhm.
small children. And that's another thing that not everyone would be okay doing. Like, I'm going to let my grown children continue growing and start all over being a bonus mom to two littles.
Mhm.
And she's doing it like seamlessly.
Wow.
And so that's something that wouldn't, like, I couldn't be there.
When I met my husband, so I was 37, and he was 38. He was almost 39. And I remember one of the things that I said was to myself, I will be totally, completely happy if I am single for the rest of my life. If I am going to be in a relationship, these are the things that I want. These are the things that I'm looking for. And I created a list. So I was starting to really envision and really be able to kind of create who I was looking for. So I really knew it's like I had a kind of a weird outline, literally, of what he would look like.
It's
And one
important
of
to
the,
do that, though.
say that again?
That's really important to do.
It is because, and it's so funny. So one of the things that I had on the list was I didn't want someone who had already had children. But I wanted someone who wanted to have children. And my friends are like, you're looking for someone within 2 years, 2 to 3 years older than you that's never had children. Like, good luck. And it was funny that I had all these things on my list. And then when I added that they could be bald, literally, now I don't know if you could see him behind me, he's bald. I had not been into bald men before, but when I added that to the list, all of a sudden, he showed up, all the things. And I was like checking off all the things. I'm like, this is it. He doesn't have kids, but he wants them. He's family oriented, like all of the things. And I was like, there it is. And so I 100% agree with what you're saying is that, not everyone is going to be okay or look for the same things that you want. And that's okay. We don't have to try to force anybody else to be what we want because it's not our life. We get to create what we want for our lives.
Absolutely. And it was funny because this was one of the topics we spoke about last night. And over the weekend, I saw an interview with Rick Rubin. And before he works with an artist, he makes them sit down and write all the things they want, not just from their art, but in all areas of their life, so that he can get like the full sense of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's really, really important, especially if you're coming out of an unhealthy relationship, to search your soul, journal, make lists, manifest, turn down dates, turn down lots of dates. If you think that you're doing yourself any favors by just getting out there, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. Turn it down. And I'm not telling you to hurt somebody, but it can be empowering to say no.
Mm-hmm.
No is a powerful word, especially if you've been in a situation where the power dynamic was not in your favor. Take no and run with it.
And that's why it's so important to get help in between healing. I
Oh,
mean, in between relationship, I should say, because what I hear a lot of people say is like, well, the way to get out of or get over one relationship is to get right into another relationship. And I feel like I want to pull my hair out because, like, heck no, you need to be by yourself. You need to feel comfortable with who you are and know what you want because a lot of us have lost ourselves in this other toxic relationship. And if we want to be able to find someone that's going to fit well with us, we have to do exactly what we were saying before is get to know who that person is at this point in their lives, not who they were 20 years ago or whatever. Who is this person now? What do I want? What do I? Yeah.
Don't think
Exactly.
potential. No aspirational dating and no aspirational voting.
100%.
Live for now. Because you don't
Yeah.
know, you could be waiting for 20 years for somebody to have their potential shine upon you, and they could get hit in the head with a parking meter. Now what do you do?
I dated potential for way too long, and that potential was only I was the only one who saw it. They didn't even see it. It's like, oh, look at what can happen. No, I have a question. Really, I want to kind of go back for a second. It's something that you said earlier on, and I'd love to hear your perspective. For people who are listening right now, and they're saying to themselves, "I've been in this relationship, whether it's physical, whether it's sexual, what emotional kind of abuse they've been dealing with." I hear a lot of people say that they stay in it because of the kids. And you were alluding, kind of started talking a little bit about some of the damage that happened. For that person who feels like they don't want to have a single parent family, or that they're breaking up the family by getting a divorce, what would you say to those people who are struggling?
This is if you are together just because of the kids. Let's turn everything on its head. You're keeping yourself shackled to a relationship that hurts you. And what you're showing your little person that you believe you're protecting is that it's okay for someone to treat you badly, that is acceptable, that taking care of yourself is not important. It has no value. And you will, over time, in their eyes, become a valueless person. And I can tell you from experience, when you look at your child as a young adult and see them looking back at you like someone who does not have value or worth, it's really, really painful. It's more painful than being struck or being verbally abused or financially abused or emotionally abused. It is something that it bruises your soul. And if you think you should leave, explore the option. Find a support group or a therapist or a life coach and pick a direction and go there. If someone loves you, they will let you go. If someone is using you or just trying to control you, they're going to fight you. And yeah, here, real love and transactional love. Real love is what we call the green flags, like emotional support, respecting your boundaries, um, supporting your dreams, speaking to you like they love you, even when they're not so sure they do.
That
That's
respect is important.
yeah, that's really important.
Yeah. It's funny because I have two newer clients right now, and they're really in the beginning phases. They've just left their toxic partner. And so they're in that phase that I really so empathize with did I do the wrong thing? And so one of the things I brought up to them is, okay, so if you were in a healthy relationship, this part of you that's wondering, like, did I do the right thing? Was it really as bad as I thought it was? Do you think in a healthy relationship you'd be Googling what is healthy? Would you, would you feel that at
No,
all? No,
no, you
no.
would know. Love feels good all the
Mhm,
time.
mhm.
It doesn't fix it doesn't pay your car insurance. It doesn't take out the garbage. It doesn't shovel your car when your car is covered with snow, but it feels good. You feel safe. You feel like somebody has your back, and you feel unafraid. that's a big thing, because fear is control. And when someone is using fear to keep you in their life, whether it's physical fear or spiritual fear, because a lot of people use religion to keep people in an unhealthy relationship. Like if you get divorced, the community will look at you badly.
Mhm.
Or people in our religion or our sect never get divorced. We would be shunned. Shun yourself. Go shun yourself.
I love that. Now we're getting close on time.
Okay.
And I think one of the things that, if you're listening to this right now, and that's one of the things, like when I wrote my book, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, I remember feeling like love was stressful and uncomfortable and you had to fight for it and all those things. And when I finally felt that piece of me of understanding that home should not feel that way. Home, what should feel natural is the peace, the calmness, stress free, like all the things that you're talking about. I think when we're able to change that feeling of what's normal for us, we're really able to shift. So I have one thing just in closing. What would you tell maybe your younger self? What would you tell a young woman, someone in their that in their 20s, 30s, 40s, that's struggling through what we're talking about? What would you tell them?
If you leave someone and they don't come after you with the intent to change, keep going. Just keep going. And change is not like, I'll change next week. Change starts now.
Mhm. Mhm. And for anyone that's holding on for those words, keep in mind how hard it is for us to change when we're actively doing the work. How easy is it going to be for somebody else that's not actually doing it and just says it and is not really authentic about it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't be afraid to open your mouth, because when somebody loves you, they want to know what you need.
I love it. Yep. Well, I know we're out of time, Barbara. It goes so quickly. I thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story with all of our viewers and all of our listeners. We'll have to have you come back again because there's so many different layers of what you're talking about. And I think it's so important for us to be open and honest and authentic with our experience. And thank you so much for sharing all that with all of us.
Oh, my pleasure. And I really look forward to setting up a time when you can be on Pink Flags. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
sounds good. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our show of Kicking Healthy Relationships to the Curb. We will be live again next week with Steve at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be on for 30 minutes. So make sure you come in, tell others that we are here and here to serve. If you have topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know. Never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. See you next week.